Hi everyone. In this series of videos, we're going to put together a website and it's going to include background images, media queries, box sizing, and Flexbox. First, let's take a look at how it's going to be organized. Okay, here's the website. This is what we're going to end up with. This taco website right here. In the top area, that's going to be the header tags. So I'm showing you how I'm going to organize it with semantic tags. So up at the top, we've got header. Then we've got our nav. All of the middle section, I'm going to wrap in the main tags. And then I've got a div up here for these headlines. Article is going to wrap these three columns. And I'm doing that so that I have a container that those columns can sit in. So article is going to be the container. And then here's my three columns. And that's what I'm going to need for Flexbox. Finally, there's my footer. So this is a visual of how the page is actually going to be organized. Now let's take a look at the folder structure. Here's my folder. This is going to be my lab folder. Called it tacos. If I bring it in here, you can see it's like every other project we've worked on or every other lab we've worked on. Here's the index page, the main page. Got a couple of images in there in the images folder. And then I have a main CSS style sheet. So I have all of these pages available for you to download and use with this lab. And remember, when this is done, you're going to save it in your class folder on your desktop, but also on your host server. You're going to save it in your labs folder. And then you're going to add a link to your jump page. Now let's take a look at Visual Studio Code. You'll notice the folder, the lab folder is open. And I haven't just opened the document. You need to have the lab folder open so that you can look at it in a browser when you click on the Go Live button. Here's our body tag that starts all of our content. And you'll notice in here, I have several things going on. First, I have a whole bunch of comment tags, and you'll have them in your files also. These comment tags are a great way to keep your content organized. I use them a lot so that I can easily find notes and find out where I am in my page. I have the semantic tags in place in this video. However, you do not have them in place in your files. So you'll need to go ahead and add all of those as we go through the video. And if you need to stop the video to type them in and then restart it along the way, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. So let's start at the top. The header element at the top of the page, this is going to be the area that has maybe an image. It might have the logo. It might have a tagline. It might contain some different things. Search box, whatever, is going to be sort of, I think of it as global content that lives at the top of the website. Now, sometimes you change the images between pages, so it's not always exactly global content or content that happens on every single page in the website, but I like to think of it that way. So down below the comment tag, you'll want to type in an opening and closing header tag around this image. This image is a placeholder image. It's a big hero image at the top of the page. We're going to switch it out to a background image in CSS in a few minutes, but for right now, just go ahead and wrap it in header tags. Okay, once you're done with that, let's move to the nav. I have a list-based nav here, and I have it wrapped in nav tags, so go ahead and do the same. When you're done with the nav, let's look at the content that switches out from page to page. That's sort of the middle area. So I will usually have global items wrapped in a header tag, and then I will also have a nav tag in there. Sometimes the nav sits within the header. That's however you want to organize it. And then I'll also have footer tags. But between those elements, sits all of my main content, the content that is generally going to switch out from page to page. And all of that content I'm going to place inside of the main tag. So here's my opening main tag. You can see it's right below the nav. And it closes down here right above the footer. So make sure you get it in the right place. It needs to wrap everything, all of the content, below the nav and above the footer. And the first item that's within those main tags, the main element, is going to be these headlines. These headlines I've wrapped in a div tag, and I've given it a class that I'm calling top text. And below top text, I have an article tag. So here's that opening article tag, and here's the closing. I've given the article a class name. You don't have to. Technically, you don't have to. You could just style the article tag. However, if you're using article tags in several different pages and you want to style them differently, you'd need to give it a class, or you'd need to give it an ID, one or the other. You've got to name it something. In this case, I'm naming the article Taco Parent. And that's just to be very clear that this is the parent, this is the container for those columns. And those columns I have named Taco Child. So Taco Parent and Taco Child. So go ahead and wrap article tags around all of the sections. When you're done with that, make sure each of the paragraphs with its heading is wrapped in a section tag. So the section tag is going to be named section class equals quote Taco Child end quote. And then you'll close it, and then you'll go down to the next section. Section class equals Taco Child, and then you're going to close it after the final closing paragraph tag, and then you'll do the third column. So make sure you get all three of them in. Take another look at this page that you're working on. I've highlighted everything from the opening to the closing article tag, and take a final look and make sure that you have everything placed in the correct order. If something's out of order, then when we get to Flexbox, it's not going to work. Finally, come down to the bottom of the page and locate your footer and wrap it in footer tags. Do a final check, make sure everything is in place. Go down and check all of your code. Make sure it matches. Make sure there's no spaces in any names, no spaces in class names. So that I can see this a little better, I'm going to apply word wrap. There we go. And it might make sense to match line numbers with me just so that things are easier to find.